Hey folks, today's little video is going to be about parts on these third gen Falcons. There seems to be a lot of confusion about what these cars are and what parts will interchange with them, so I'm going to walk you through quite a bit of it. You can take most of this to the bank, but always verify before you buy anything. So let's take a little stroll around the car and I'll tell you what you can actually use from other vehicles on these particular cars. All right, so the common misconception is because the original Ford Falcon begat the Mustang, that all Falcons interchange all parts with Mustangs. And that is false when you get to 1966. These cars changed significantly from their prior generation. They're actually on their own new chassis. And these do not really share parts with Mustangs. There is a couple exceptions. But this car is essentially a downsized Fairlane. And or the Fairlane is a stretched limo version of a Falcon. You can look at it either way. But the cars share the same basic platform and pretty much everything else driveline and suspension wise. So if you're talking 66, 67 Fairlanes, specifically those 2 years, all of that stuff will easily transfer over to one of these cars. 68 on, they changed a little bit, so you're just going to make sure before you jump in. But what I can tell you is that the only difference between a 66, 67 Fairlane and Falcon is the wheelbase. The Fairlane has a slightly longer wheelbase, so the floor pan dimension between the wheels, in other words, the wheelbase is the measurement between the center of the two wheels, and it's got an extra couple of inches. I didn't bother to look it up because I don't care that much, but it is slightly longer. Now, where exactly is that? Can you use floor pans from a Fairlane in a Falcon? Yes, the pieces that they make now are individual floors, and you can buy the front floor pans or the rear floor pan sections, and they will fit, to the best of my knowledge. I don't know where they added the extra length. It might be back in the quarter panel area, back in here or something. I'm not exactly sure. The doors, I believe, on a two-door post Fairlane are the same door. And also, I believe that the windshield is the same. Not convinced of that 100%, but I think it is. From there back on the roof, I think they begin to separate. But you'll notice if you look at a Fairlane two-door post that this quarter window and everything looks to be identical. However, what makes one of your things easier in life is that from the firewall forward, exactly the same. In fact, a 66, 67 Fairlane, you can unbolt the front clip and bolt it right onto one of these Falcons and give yourself a stacked headlight Falcon if you would choose to do so. All the stuff under here is going to be the same. Radiator support, inner fenders, cowl, firewall, all that stuff. Totally interchangeable. Now, if you're talking about the outside sheet metal, though, bear in mind that the Fairlane is shaped totally different. And so the bumpers for the Fairlane are going to be different than the ones for the Falcons. These contours that follow the grille and so on are going to be different. So you can't just swap a bumper from a Fairlane to a Falcon. It doesn't work. You'd have to put the whole entire front clip on. But other than that, it's the same. Back of the car is obviously going to be different because the quarter panels are unique to the Falcon. And so all that's going to be different. The dash, there's some discussion on those, whether they interchange or not, and they do kind of in a way. Now, what you can do, and I know this is possible in 68 to 70 Falcons, is you can put a Fairlane / Torino dash assembly in the car. It'll have all the circular gauges. They're kind of a really nice dash, actually. And you can interchange that completely, and it'll fit right in the car. And if you belong to the Forgotten Falcons group on Facebook, we have in our files section instructions on exactly what you need to do to swap that around if you want to go for that look. We also have parts interchanges between various Ford models, and also what fits what from 66 to 70 in the Falcon line by itself. Those are all marked in the files section. If you belong to Facebook, go to Forgotten Falcons. You'll see files in the header right at the top of the group, and you can download any of those items for free, including a big Hollander interchange for Ford products from the late 50s up through the 70s, I think. I think we have that in there. So anyhow, that you can do. The difference with the dash is obviously the pads are different and they only match the dash that you have. And the dash framework, the metal part, will vary from year to year. So they're not all like slam dunk interchangeable. Also, steering columns and steering boxes are going to matter for years. 66 is unique. 67, I believe, is unique. And 68 to 70 is going to be its own animal as well. All right, so what can interchange from a Mustang? Well, it's only a couple of pieces, and it's mostly going to be on your suspension in the front. So, the spindles that hold the entire wheel and so forth on there, 67 to 69 Mustang is going to be the same as Falcon and Fairlane, which means that you can put the brakes from a 67 to 69 Mustang on a Fairlane or Falcon. The upper control arms are identical, 67 to 73 Mustang from what I've found. 67 to 71 Fairlane upper control arms also interchange. Now the lower control arm, for whatever reason when I was doing my research, only came up as Mustang for the year 1967. I don't know why that is, but that's what I found. So 68 may work. I don't know. You'll have to do your homework and see. Those lower arms, who cares? They're so cheap to buy. You just buy new ones anyway. But the big important part, of course, is going to be that knuckle that holds the wheel and the brakes. Being able to change that with Mustang is nice. So you'll be able to bolt that onto any of these cars. No problem. Upper control arms, I forgot to mention also, Maverick up to 76 will also interchange. But I don't know why you'd be changing upper control arms with, something off another model, because you can just buy these new. Except, of course, the uppers that don't fit. See my video on that. You can make them fit if you have a big enough hammer. Other oddball parts, starters, anything will interchange with anything, provided you have the same engine and same transmission arrangement. In other words, V8 manual, 6-cylinder automatic, whatever. They all interchange in every Ford product, practically, up through the 1980s. The alternators. If you're on the road and one of these takes a dump on you, you can get one on any Ford product up to about 1985. The only difference on them really is the pulleys and the amperage output. But they'll all interchange. Wiper motors, assuming that you have a 2-speed wiper motor, which I don't. 66 to 75, any Ford product. 2-speed wiper motors, all the same. So that's a wonderful thing. Now, one of the common things that people want to do, of course, is they want to change to 5 lugs. They go to disc brakes and all that. They want to know about the rear axle. Rear axle and differential. Well, what can you swap in there? All right, so we have a rear axle width listing in our files section in that group as well. And the Fairlane Falcon rear axle width is 59.25 inches. That is allegedly the same as a 67 to 70 Mustang, but the spring perches are not welded on in the same location, so you'd have to cut those off and move them and re-weld them. The next closest axle that you might want to consider swapping in if you're doing something a little more custom is, I think it's the 8.8 from a Lincoln Mark 7, LSC, or SVO Mustang. Good luck getting an SVO Mustang guy to sell you an axle. But those are the proper width. Any other Mustangs, Falcons, anything like that from earlier, no bueno, totally different. The width is going to be wrong. You're going to have problems with tire fitments and so on. So again, you want to get our handy dandy axle width catalog listing. Facebook, Forgotten Falcons, files right at the top of the page. Download and print and use to your heart's content. Absolutely free. Assuming you're a member of Facebook, which I know has its pluses and minuses. I won't get into that. But that's kind of it. Those are the only pieces that you can really scarf off of a Mustang, other than, you know, the usual driveline, engine trans kind of stuff you can obviously swap. But things to be aware of. These are not Mustang-based cars, and the Mustangs are not based on these cars. So, you know, don't be buying Mustang floor pans, Mustang wiring harnesses, rear frame rails, not going to work. The rear frame rails, you might be able to cut and section what you need in. If you rusted out the rear leaf springs, it's a possibility. But I don't know for a fact that that will work. But the entire rail is not the same. Trunk floor pieces are not the same, and so on. So hopefully that was helpful. Happy parts hunting. Always be aware that the Fairlane is the same, because some catalogs do not list parts for these cars, but they will for Fairlanes. And case in point is, if you've been following the series, you're well aware of this, but I'll show them again, is these braces for the floor where the seats bolt, not listed for Falcon, but it is reproduced for the Fairlane. Auto Metal Direct makes those. They also make the cowl that's rust prone, the top piece of the cowl, and they also make the firewall. And heaven help you if you got to put a firewall in. But Auto Metal Direct makes those, and they have them in the catalog for 66.7 Fairlanes. They will absolutely fit these cars. They may tell you not, or they don't know, or they don't care, but it will work for you. So those are available to you as well. Hopefully you got something out of that. I thank you as always for watching. Please leave a comment if you liked it or didn't like it, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.